district, and essentially put yourself in much more of an interest than just for the people. I have a problem with that. There's something wrong with that.
Now, where's Timberline located at?
Timberline is located on the corner of Samuel Boulevard and Grove Hill Road, which is actually the street that I turn off of to come into my neighborhood. It's right on the edge of the Buckner Terraces line, and it is a 47-acre property that is being proposed that encompasses the property next door to it, which is the old Buckner retirement property as well.
Okay, now what are they planning on doing with it?
Well, so last night I attended a community meeting where the full proposal was laid out, and there are 3 different components of this community that's being proposed, and there are townhomes, there are villas, and then there are some 3-story structures that will have a roof deck that has a clear view of the skyline. You know, we're about a mile away from Skyline High School, and those of you who don't know, at Skyline High School you can see a beautiful view of the skyline from most of the windows that face the west on that campus.
Thus the name Skyline.
Exactly.
And a lot of people go, why did they name the school that?
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
The elevation in this particular part of Southeast Dallas is pretty incredible to look over, and I know that when it was built in 1972 there was a lot less things between the school and the skyline, so it's a pretty clear picture. So there's these 3 different concepts that are going to encompass one community. I think that they're on a good track, don't get me wrong, and I'm all for bringing in some quality development to the district. But when I asked the question last night, well, you know, when it was brought to the Dallas Morning News, when it was brought to the community at first, we were told that they were going to start in the 200s, which was already kind of questionable because that was considered their affordable options.
So affordable housing in Dallas is $200,000?
That's apparently what some developers seem to think. I beg to differ. Again, District 7 is a majority working class, and I absolutely think that District 7 deserves much better things than what we have, but I don't necessarily think that the answer to that is to completely change the demographic. So when I look at a plan that has 423 units proposed, all of which will be in the low 300s, which is what I was told last night, in addition to HOA dues, I have a problem with that. Because if we're going to approve development of that size in our district and it not be conducive to what is already surrounding it, then that's where the problem lies. If teachers that I work with in Dallas ISD can't afford to live in this city, can't afford to buy one of these houses, if our neighborhood police officer who was at the meeting, who I looked at, and he's not going to be able to move into this district, why are we catering to other parts of Dallas to get them into our district instead of trying to make our smart growth be beneficial to those? Because we already know development's going to come to follow, which is great. And with a plan like they have with 3 different concepts within one community, there's no reason why we can't start that price point at a lower point. And if it's the townhomes that are going to be the lower price point, then let's just expand that range and start being a little bit more creative.
What's your price point?
Well, they're starting in the low 300s.
300. So you're against the 300,000?
I am against that if that is the lowest option that we have. Absolutely.
Now, some people argue the point and say that if you put in a subdivision with 300,000, that the neighborhood around it will improve because $300,000 homes, $350,000 homes, you get things like Starbucks, you get those kind of things, and it'll draw up, if you will, the amenities in the neighborhood and community. What's your response to that?
Well, I mean, there was the market value analysis that was done by the city of Dallas a couple years ago now, almost a couple years ago. It was basically the heated part of the heat map on where development needs to go just goes straight through District 7. So I know that there's developers that have had their eye on it, but we don't have to price people out to get good things. We don't need to have 423 new units where the majority of the people that live surrounding it wouldn't afford to be able to live. Now, again, if that range was a little broader, if we were able to be, creative, think about the working class, and figure out a way to get that price point to start a little lower with some of the units in one of their concepts, and then even go up to those awesome $500,000 homes that they want to put in there with rooftops looking at downtown Dallas. I think that's great, but to me, that's what promotes community. That's telling me that you're coming into our community and you care about what already exists and what's going to happen to follow. It doesn't do us any good for the development to only be conducive to those that just moved into the community. It needs to be for the others. So a perfect example is Victory Park. Look when that happened, and they thought that they had these grand ideas to bring in all high-end retail, and how long did that last? So I would love to have more sit-down restaurants, more family-friendly establishments, more quality retail, more wholesome food. I want to see fresh produce more available to our constituents. So the retail piece is 100% a need there, but at the expense of those that have invested decades into this community already. No, that's to me not okay.
Question regarding those who do not have homes.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about those people who can afford $300,000 homes.
Yep.
Let's address the people who do not have homes, the homeless situation in the district. What can we do to alleviate that?
Well, the first thing that we can do is we can have leadership that is willing to call out these Band-Aid fixes that the city of Dallas continues to do. To me, it is insulting on how our homeless population is treated in the city of Dallas. Here comes a big event that the city wants to subsidize and put money into around Fair Park. So that's when all of a sudden we're going to come and bulldoze everybody's property and kick them out with a wire fence and portray to all of the outsiders that are coming into the State Fair of Texas that that there's no homeless people, right? That's false, and in my opinion, it's even inhumane. Those, if somebody has a tent and a shopping cart and 5 bags worth of their belongings, those are still their belongings. That's their life. The homeless population, in my opinion, are the less fortunate residents of Dallas. They're still people. They're human beings. So until we start looking at them and addressing the root of the problem, which in my opinion stems from mental health, then we are not going to make any fixes other than Band-Aid fixes. Now, I will give the city credit. We have upped the budget for the homeless initiatives, and we now have a Citizens Homeless Commission. So we have somebody representing each district across the city that is brainstorming and coming up with innovative solutions for that. But with a city our size, we need to have more innovative solutions in the works and actually being executed. I would love to see us piggyback on some other cities that have some really great ideas and some things that are coming forward. And but to answer your question completely, the homeless population, I think, is also misconstrued. I know there's a difference between a vagrant and a homeless person, and I think that that's important. That's important to highlight. And a vagrant is someone who resists services, someone who possibly doesn't want the help and is fine and content with where they are. However, that's because there's no trust built, and that's because there is a lot like what I already described, where they feel like they are fending for themselves and they are working with people that are working against them and not for them. So it's time for the city of Dallas to really tackle this issue, invest money into mental health resources, and try to build trust and relationships, not only with the homeless and the city, but with the surrounding communities and the homeless.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the medical care, and we'll also, this whole hour's went by real quick. we'll go ahead and let you have your closing.
Has it already been
as
out?
well. Almost.
All right.
Almost. So let's go ahead and run a couple of drops, and then we'll be right back.
Does a car wreck have some damn?
Yeah.
You need to call the car wreck cowboy. Attorney Sadat Montgomery with Montgomery Law. The car wreck cowboy.
You good, man?
He'll answer the big insurance companies.
You can tell.
Get you the settlement you deserve.
I'll pick up on context clues.
Car wreck cowboy. 855